Welcome to My Vintage Love. Today we have something really special for you. I'm going to recreate a photo of Norma Shearer. We found this really great photo of Norma Shearer from 1934. It was used in a poster from the movie Riptide, which was made in 1934. She made it with Robert Montgomery, and I just love this photo. I think it's very romantic, very sexy, and just a great image of Norma Shearer. And I've been told many times, and I've thought so myself, that there are images where I look a lot like Norma Shearer. She's basically my vintage doppelganger. So we thought it would be really fun to try and recreate this look in this specific photo. So I have a similar dress, similar jewelry. We have the white fur that's in the photo, and I'm gonna recreate my makeup as closely as I can to this look. The thing with Norma's makeup is that she didn't have a really strong makeup. It was more on the natural side. She didn't have a specific feature like a Jean Harlow eyebrow or a Joan Crawford lip where you'd be like, oh, that's her look. She just has kind of a soft look that kind of enhances her own features, not unlike the makeup that we like to do on ourselves today. So I'm going to be looking at her specific features and try and recreate those as best I can on myself. So let's get started with the makeup. First of all, I'm going to start with the eyes. I'm just going to do a slight downturn to the eyes. That was very popular in the 30s, that downturned eye, I think Greta Garbo, that whole look. So we're not trying to create that up look to the eye. We're creating more of a down shape, which is great because that plays into her eye shape and it plays into my eye shape as well. So we're just going to be I'm using this nice Tartelette matte palette, not a lot of shiny colors, no shiny colors in this palette, not a lot of shiny colors happening back in the 30s in general. I should say that I already have foundation on. I just used the Shiseido Synchro Skin Radiant Lifting Foundation and the iconic London concealer. I'm really loving both of these a lot right now. I'm not using Pancake because Pancake didn't come out until 1938, and this photo was taken in 1934, so I'm trying to be, otherwise I would have used Pancake makeup, but just trying to stay along, fudging it just a little bit. Yeah, my skin is basically done right now. I'll add a little powder later, but I'm gonna go ahead and use this lovely palette and start with a nice matte color. Just gonna do kind of like a taupe smoky eye, just give a little definition to the eye, but nothing too crazy. So I'm gonna go in there with that color there and just get that shape started. Again, there's nothing about it that is an up shape. It's a down shape, so for people like me with this kind of downturned eye, it works quite well. So just getting a nice wash of color all over my lid, and then bringing that shape down. We kind of have to guesstimate to a certain extent exactly what colors they would have been wearing back then. But like I said, she kind of had a more natural makeup, and I'm going to guess that it was more of just a wash of color like we're doing now. So I'm going to bring that shape down just a teeny tiny bit that way, and make sure I'm kind of blended into the inner corner too. So I have the eyeshadow on both eyes. As I said, it was kind of a wash of color with kind of a downward shape, just following the shape of my own eyes, which is easy enough. And next I'm just going to put a tiny, tiny bit of shadow underneath the eye. Nothing too crazy, just something to kind of amp up the look down there. Going to be using these same two colors again. Using a little itty bitty tiny brush, which I use all the time when I'm lining. And I'm just going to, again, just kind of give a bit of a gentle wash underneath the eye. Nothing too crazy, just to give it a little bit of emphasis. I do already have a little bit of mascara on, just so I don't disappear on camera. But I will be putting a little bit more mascara on. That is something that Norma seemed to do quite a bit, was kind of pop those lower lashes. So I want those lower lashes to pop, and this will help with that. So next I'm going to be doing liner. I'm going to be using eyeshadow, which is actually a trick of mine that I love, love, love to do. I'm going to be using a dark brown and a black kind of put together as shadow, mostly just on the top. So I'm going to go in there and use these two colors. and just really, really, really work that in there into my lash line. So this isn't necessarily a liner look. I'm not trying to make this look like liner. I'm just trying to give a thickness to the lash line. So I really just want to get as close as possible to my lash line and just give it a little thickness. This is a favorite trick of mine in everyday life as well, everyday makeup, because everyone looks better with a slightly thicker lash line. Even if you don't want to wear false lashes, it just helps to make your lashes look thicker, which is always a nice look. The thing about this image is that it looks very glamorous, but if you look at her makeup, it really doesn't look like, oh my gosh, she's wearing so much makeup. And I know the black and white and the lights absorb a lot of the makeup too, but it's not like I mentioned, Norma generally didn't have like a very, very strong signature makeup. It was just more about enhancing her face. So we're trying to do that today. Okay, so I have the liner on my right eye. I'm just going to go ahead and do that on my left eye, and then I think we can move along to the lashes. So I have the eyeliner on top of both eyes, and next I'm going to move on to the lashes. I already have some mascara. I've already curled my lashes and put mascara on top and bottom because I like to do that before I put false lashes on. I'm going to go ahead and use the Alcone Company 340 lashes. These are nice and long and spindly. That was the pretty common false lash look back in the 30s. If you look at this picture of Norma, you have to zoom in, but you can really see like how long and spindly those lashes are. It really wasn't about thickness back then, it was about length. So I really like the way that these look, and I'm just gonna go ahead and pop these on. I kind of practiced this look on myself last night, so I know that these are the right width for my eyes, so I don't need to cut them down at the corners, which is something you should definitely do when you're using false lashes. So I have holding the lashes with tweezers and then taking some lash glue, the latex-free lash glue, and just spreading that very thinly on the band here. So the lashes are ready to go. They have a band of glue on them, and I'm just going to look down the bridge of my own nose and pop these on. Okay, I have the lashes on my right eye, and I think they look really good, very Norma-esque, and I'm going to go ahead and put the left pair on, and we'll come right back. So my lashes are on both eyes. I think they look really good. I love when lashes go on in any look because I feel like that kind of like brings it alive. So I'm going to put a little bit more mascara underneath my eyes. I already set on the bottom lashes. I already do have a little bit, but I just want to pop it just a tiny, tiny bit more. So I'm just going to add a little bit more. Bottom mascara does create a nice definition under the eyes, especially if you're being photographed. And like I mentioned before, in a lot of pictures of Norma Shearer, you see those bottom lashes really, really popping. And they really like their bottom mascara in the 30s too. I think you see that quite a bit. At least I saw that quite a bit. My research was a healthy dose of bottom mascara in the 30s. And then I want to put just a little on the false lashes, my real lashes and the false lashes, just to kind of marry them together and give a little more oomph to the length of these false lashes, because these false lashes are very, very thin and spindly, like I mentioned. So I just really want to pop those a little bit more. And then if you got a little too much, just take a little spoolie and clean it up so it's not clumpy or anything. So mascara is on top and bottom, lashes are on, and I'm feeling pretty good about the eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the brows now. The brows are something that was, as in the 30s, we think of brows as being super, super thin and super, super high with the Jean Harlow, but Norma's were actually quite straight across with a tail that went down. So she didn't have those high, high arches that we kind of associate with the 30s. She kind of had her own brow situation going on. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in the top of my brows to make them a little straighter and then bring it down. And then what I'm going to do is fill in the bottom part with some concealer to give it the effect of having a thinner brow, because I'm not going to go in there and pluck everything. But my brow is already a good start towards more Norma brow shape, but I definitely want to bring that out to look more like hers. So I'm using the Senna brow pencil and taupe. So I'm just going to brush the brow up, and then I'm going to kind of brush it straight across so we can give it that straight across look that I was talking about. And make sure we comb this down on the out. So you can kind of get that brow shape started already. And then with the pencil, I'm just going to draw straight across. Normally we want our brows to kind of have that up shape, the modern brow, but this is a different kind of brow. So straight across and then down. So you can see, again, we're talking about that down shape, which is something that we wouldn't necessarily do nowadays, but it is something that they would have done back then. And she didn't have those high arches brows that a Jean Harlow would have had back then, that you see very, very commonly in the 30s for doing Norma's specific brow. Okay, so I'm actually pretty happy with this brow shape now. You can kind of see that the straightness across the brow, and then the arches on the outer side, and then it goes down kind of far actually. So you can, when you look at the picture of Norma, that's very common throughout her brow, is the straightness and then the down. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in my brow on the left side with that same shape, and then we'll go back and fill in the bottom part with concealer to give it a thinner brow look. I've drawn on the brow on both brows, that kind of straighter, more down shape. And next what I'm going to do is, because I don't want to pluck my brows, I'm going to fill in the bottom with concealer. Norma didn't have really thin brows, totally drawn on brows, but hers were a little thinner than mine. So what I want to do is just kind of give the illusion that I have a thinner brow without blocking them out entirely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a spoolie, a mascara spoolie, and concealer. This is the Laura Mercier Secret Camouflage, which is great for covering brows. This is something that you would do for photos and things like that. It's never going to look like your brow is totally gone in real life. So if you have an in-person situation, this is maybe not the best thing to use, but for photos it's great, because what can happen is people can go in, the retoucher can go in afterwards and touch over the brow that you want gone. So this is a great kind of workaround for that, instead of doing a full brow blocking situation. So I'm just going to get in there with the spoolie, kind of work the concealer into the spoolie. So what I'm going to do is I'm working the concealer really into the spoolie, and then I'm going to use the pinkier flesh tone, and then go in with a little bit of the lighter color over it. And honestly, my brows right now are fairly similar to hers. That, I just want to go take this extra step just to give you the better impression of how you can kind of make your brows look a little bit thinner if you need to. So I'm going to go in, and I'm just trying to block off the bottom part of the brow. So we're just going to draw over that part of the brow with the concealer. Try and not get it on your lashes. And that's why I tried to keep when I was filling in the brow, I tried to keep the bulk of the pencil on the top of the brow. Getting a little bit on my lashes here, so I'll have to go over my lashes and put some mascara on there. I'm kind of putting the concealer on, putting it on horizontally and not brushing it up. In hindsight, I probably should have done the brows first and then done the eyes, because I'm getting the concealer on my lashes, but I will just go ahead and cover that up with mascara. This will look better from far away too, but you can kind of see how the impression of that brow looking thinner is happening. Okay, so I think maybe now that it's a wider shot, you get a better impression of the overall look. You can kind of see how my right brow looks thinner than my left brow, just if you glance at it. Again, if it's not something, if you want to get really close, it's nothing you want to get really close to. It's more of a wider effect. So I hope that's reading as a nice, thin, beautiful brow. So I have the brows on both sides. I've filled in the top and put concealer on the bottom. So you can see it kind of gives that illusion of a thinner brow. Again, this is something you would do for photography, not every day, but it helps us give the impression of a thinner brow without a full brow blocking, which is good. So let's see, I think we have a nice kind of downturn Norma eye going on. So next up, I'm looking at my face. I think I'm just gonna add a little bit of blush. I have a tiny, tiny bit on right now just so I wouldn't disappear on camera at the beginning, but I'm gonna add a little bit more. These photos were done in black and white, of course, but they did have blush back in the 30s, and it definitely helps to liven up the face, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. This is the MAC Glow Play Blush in No Shame. Really pretty color. I actually really like this formulation. It's new, and it's this kind of like spongy cream almost, not too wet, which I really like in a cream blush. And I'm just gonna go ahead and tap that onto my cheeks. I'm gonna go ahead and bring it up a little bit up to my temples. They did like that kind of almost a rat blush feeling in the 30s, a very high blush. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You can use your fingers or a brush with this formulation. I do like my fingers because it is, like I said, a nice dry formulation, so it's easy to do. It's so different to look at these photos in black and white versus in color, and we do have to guess a little bit what the colors actually would have been. And keep in mind that even though she looks like she's not wearing a lot of makeup, because of the lighting, she would have been definitely wearing a full face because the lighting does absorb so much. So I know that what you're seeing on camera now looks like probably quite a bit of makeup, and what she's wearing, what it looks like she's wearing in that photo doesn't look like a lot, but the strobes were very bright, so they were really very much blowing out the face. So something to think about when you're thinking about the colors that you would use for makeups like this, that we have the original black and white image that we showed you, but then we have the colorized version that was used for the Riptide movie poster, and you can see that she actually looks like she's wearing quite a bit of color on her cheeks in that image. And then in this one, this image, this is kind of an artist rendering of the same image, and you can see kind of the artist take on what she had on in terms of color on her face, which I think is always really interesting to see that. So something to keep in mind when you're doing research around these time periods, or you're trying to recreate these kind of looks. Not everything was in black and white, despite the media that we had for the time. So I have the Glow Play Blush on by MAC, and then I'm going to go ahead and just pop on a little bit of powder blush over this. This is MAC in Pink Swoon powder blush. And I just like to give a little more pop of color, kind of following the shape I gave myself. And okay, so looking good. We have the eyes done, we have the cheeks done, the brows, and of course we have to move on to the lips. The lips are, when you're trying to recreate period things, two most important things are the eyebrows and the lip shape. And Norma, again, she didn't have that, we think of the kind of rosebud mouth of the 30s. She was really just more or less following her own natural lip line. She had thinner and longer lips than I do, so I'm going to kind of try and give myself more of a Norma mouth by lining within my own lip line. So to help with that, I'm going to go back to my concealer here, the Laura Mercier. The Laura Mercier is really good if you're trying to just kind of cover up any natural skin colors, really. And you want to, when you're trying to create a lip line, you kind of want to erase your natural lip line that's already there, and so you can create your own new lip line. So I'm not going to go too crazy. I'm literally just going to take a kind of a wash of concealer around the edge of my lip line. But if I was going to truly recreate my lip line, I would just go all in with the concealer. And I'm going to go ahead and use the always classic, my personal favorite, MAC Cherry Lip Pencil. Cannot go wrong with this one. This is my ride or die red. And like I said, I'm really just gonna be using my own natural lip line, but just keeping it on the inside of my lip line, which again is something that nowadays we're really not used to doing. We always want to make our lips look bigger, so this is something to the modern eye that can feel a little weird. So I've lined and filled in my bottom lip just inside my own natural lip line, and I've just filled in with the cherry lip pencil. And I'm going to go ahead and just do that on the upper lid, the upper lip as well. In this image, Norma's lips it's kind of more of a natural bow to the lip. There are some other images of her where it's that more extreme 30s bow, but in this it's more of just a natural kind of a flatter bow, so I'm going to do that. So what I did there is I added a little bit more color to the corner, each corner of my mouth, just to slightly elongate it, because she definitely had a wider mouth than I do. So that's just getting the very, very subtle impression of a wider mouth. Very, very subtle. That's something that can go off the rails really easily, so be careful when you're doing that. So I have a lip line on that I'm happy with. I'm going to go ahead and add some red lipstick. This is, the cherry is reading a little bit pink right now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some red lipstick over it. This is the Maybelline Matte Superstay Ink Crayon in, what is it? Own Your Empire, which is one of my favorite reds. I've been wearing this for quite a while now, and it's a great red if you're looking for a nice long wear red. Can't recommend this one enough. So just going to go in there, just going to go over what I already did. So I think the lips are done now. I just want to add a little bit more emphasis to the outer eyeshadow, just to give it even more of a downturned look. So I'm just going to take this small eyeshadow brush. I'm just going to use one of the darker browns and go in there and just give it just a little bit of emphasis. So I'm going in there and just giving this a little more shape. Sometimes once you get almost all of the makeup on and then you go back and you realize like what you need to tweak, just give it a little more shape and shadow and texture. Dimension, that's the word I'm looking for, just to give a little more dimension. Always okay to do that. Not that I need any help emphasizing my downturn of my eyes, but I am gonna add this little bit. So last step is just to add a little bit of powder. I'm gonna be using the Chanel Translucent. I'm a big fan of putting on powder with a brush. Some people like a puff, but I am a brush girl all the way. Quite matte. The skin was quite matte back then, even before the advent of Pancake, because they would have been using all those, the hot lights and everything, so they would have been quite well powdered, especially for these kind of photos. So the makeup is pretty much done. I tried to recreate her look as best I could. And we have the brows, the eyes, the lashes, the cheeks, and the lips, the lip shape and the eyebrow shape being the most important. And next we're gonna move on to the hair. The hair is really tricky because Norma, again, didn't have that kind of, 30s wave. There are actually some pictures of her where she had more curly hair. We thought about recreating some of those, but ended up with this one. So this hair is actually a bit of a challenge because if you notice, her hair is quite short and it's cut in a way that we just don't see that often nowadays. So I was not going to cut my hair for this. Sorry, guys. I love y'all. I'm not going to do that. And I was playing with it and I was trying to figure out if I could style it using my own hair with the length that it's at right now, but it just wasn't going to happen. So I have bought a wig. And we're going to use this wig to kind of try and recreate the look that she has going on in this picture. It's not going to be perfect, but we're going to do it anyways. So I ask you for a little bit of grace in this because it's not going to be dead on perfect. But maybe in the future I can hire someone to make me a wig that will look exactly like her hair. But this is a little bit longer than her hair in this photo, but we're going to try it anyways, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap up my own hair and then put the wig on. So we'll come back with my hair all wrapped up. So I skipped ahead a little bit. I wrapped my hair, put a wig cap on, and put the wig on. As I mentioned, not perfect, but we're going to work with it. Maybe the retoucher can do some magic in retouching land. But as you can see in the photo, she has a very, very deep part over her right eye. So I moved the part of the wig over to my right eye, and I've pinned up the side that is now longer and tried to make that part as deep as possible over here with a bit of a pin over last night. So yeah, again, it's not perfect, but we're working with it. And maybe one day I can get a really nice wig made up to look just like Norma's hair. So next up is the styling. And as you can see in the photo, she has on a stack of rhinestone bracelets, which is like a girl after my own heart, because that is how I like to wear my bracelets too. And I have a really similar dress. The dress photographs as ivory. In the artist rendition on the poster, he shows it as more of a gold color. My dress is ivory, and I just thought it would be such a great way to, it's just so close to the dress she's wearing. I'm really excited to see how it photographs. And that's about it. I'm gonna go ahead and put on the dress and the rhinestone bracelets and everything, and we can get a final look before we start shooting with Bill. So here we are. I have on the gown, the makeup, and the hair, so basically ready to shoot. I love this gown. I've had it for years. I think it's a really, really nice match for the dress that she's wearing in the photos. And I have the 4 bracelets, rhinestone bracelets that she has on. I love that she has her bracelets stacked in that photo because I love to do that too. I also had 2 dress clips, but for some reason, mysteriously, one of them disappeared, and now I just have the one, but I will probably have to have the retoucher just put that second one in post. But I'm really excited to shoot this. I think it looks really, really cool. It's really fun to try and recreate this shot to the best of our ability. So I'm really excited for Bill to get here and for us to start shooting.
So old Hollywood photos were all shot with studio lighting, with big, giant tungsten lights. But of course, we're not using those today. So we're going to fake it with flashes, which is all right because we don't have to worry about color temperature or anything because we're shooting black and white, which is the great thing about it. The trick is, though, is that they had very sharp angles, like all the shadows and everything were like really crisp. And that's the kind of thing you can only get with like little flashes. If you use flashes that are too big, if you use big studio flashes, it would actually be almost too big. Even a regular studio flash with a reflector, this is way too big. So you almost need a tiny little light like this. And I actually have a grid on this too. So pop this off. I actually have a grid, so light can only come through at certain angles. So we're going to play. It may be that we don't need the grid and we need the barn doors, these little things to keep the light from spilling. We're going to have to do little test shots to figure this out. But basically, we're going to try to hack this together using modern technology as opposed to using the old stuff. That's kind of amazing.
So we just finished up shooting. I'm really excited to see the shots. Thank you so much, Bill, for doing this.
You're very, very welcome, Michelle.
I think it'll look amazing, and I know you're going to work your magic in terms of Photoshop and things like that.
I think in the end, people might not be able to see one from the other.
But fingers crossed, one hopes, one hopes. But we're really excited to show them to you, and thanks again for doing this, and really, really appreciate it. So stay tuned for the final shots. Bye. Hey guys, so the images are ready and I'm really excited to show them to you. Bill did an amazing job of capturing and recreating the lighting, getting the feel for it. So I'm going to show you the image of Norma that we were trying to emulate. And then here is the final image that Bill took of me. And I'm really, like I said, I'm really happy with the way that Bill managed to recreate that very specific lighting. I have to say I'm a little surprised that I look so much not like Norma Shearer in this final image, but maybe we can try again in the future with a different image. It might have been kind of tricky, just the angle and the laying down and everything, but we'll give it the old college try another time. But I'm really glad that we did this. It was really fun to do, just getting all dressed up and the hair and the makeup and everything and watching Bill work. So I really hope you enjoyed this. It was really fun. And please subscribe below if you haven't already and follow us on Instagram at MyVintageLoveBlog for even more regular updates. And we will see you with the next one. Bye.